for it, bitch.
Don't let I do what I did it, I does it, I pull up, I do it again. Yeah.
It's Curry here, and today I'm going to bring you a tutorial on how to edit like Flea and get a little more comfortable with putting these cinematics and Flea type cinematics into your Fortnite montages. So to start out, you obviously have to have a clip, and then once you get your clip, you're going to want to go into Fortnite and go into your replays and get a cinematic with that. So I actually got this clip from a couple days ago, and I was going to go back in and show you how I did my cinematic, but with the update this past day, all my replays are gone, so I can't actually do that. However, I can show you a little bit from like the perspective, I guess you can say, and talk to you kind of what I did and how I got my cinematic and what angles I kind of got. So here's my cinematic. Nothing really special. I mean, to be honest, the easiest way I think to do it, so I adjusted the angle, I record the past 30 seconds, so you're going to see a little additional stuff. But what I do is basically I go to basically a third person look. Only thing is you're on the drone attach, and I think the attach is by far the easiest way to do it. And I would use a controller if I were you all. I mean, you can try mouse and keyboard. I play mouse and keyboard, but with controller, I think it's just easier to pan to the right, pan to the left, and still have more control. Whereas the mouse and keyboard, I feel like it's a lot harder. But all I did with this was I literally just pan to the right to get one look, and then I go back to the third person look, and then I pan to the left, and I go back again. And that's going to be the cinematic that I'm using for this tutorial. You can obviously do a lot more if you wanted to. I mean, you've seen Milliam and you've seen Flea, and they'll sometimes, you know, zoom into the opponent or who you're hitting. A lot of different cinematics, but for this tutorial, this is the one we're going to use. Once you have your cinematic, all you need is your clip. So let's pull those into here. And then for the song, I'm going to be using the same song that Flea used to kind of like basically show and give the reasons why he made the decisions he did. And then, I mean, you can adapt that to different songs and just kind of get creative with it, I guess you could say. So let's start out with the clip. So it's a 30-second clip, like I said, so I clip 30 seconds at a time. So I'm just going to trim this up real quick. Nothing special there. So this is now where the fun begins, you could say. So this is going to be your bass, like bass drop. I mean, I can tell just off wavelength. I mean, if you don't know, you can always listen to it. Get a feel. So right there, I mean, you can hear it. If you want, you can put a marker. For a marker, it's just M. I don't know if any of y'all are new with Vegas. M is for marker. And then what I do is, so it's going to be a little different than a shotgun shot. Shotgun shot, you want the shot to hit here. With a hunting rifle shot, you actually have two different sounds. You actually have the sound where the bullet gets shot right there, and then like the actual hitting of the target. So when you hit the guy. And I am going to be using when I hit the guy. So I'm going to just split that, move this over here for now. We don't need to worry about it yet. And I'm going to put that here. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the song and kind of get a feel of where we want our cinematic to be. So you can hear the different audio, like how it changes audio right there. And I mean, you can hear the high pitch a little bit. So you're going to want to start your cinematic there. Awesome. So I'm just going to split this for now. You don't have to. I'm just doing it to pull it in, and then we can adjust when we get in here. So just make sure that's where we want it. A little long. Okay. leave some room for now. And I'm going to trim up my clip. I was supposed to do that earlier. Just pull it back out. Alrighty, so that's where I want the clip to start, the cinematic to start. And so here, you can tell this is not what we want, but it's definitely a start. So now what you're going to want to do is to really give it the flow that you're seeing with Flea and everything. You want to insert, you're going to right click, insert, remove envelope, and then velocity. And here within velocity, this will just allow you basically to speed up and slow down your clips. The velocity is just literally basically the multiplier times the speed of your normal clip. And you want it to be slowed down. So I forgot to say this, but you hear the who in the song 3 different times, and that's kind of going to be like where we transition from each cinematic, I guess you can say. It's one cinematic, but we're going to have like 3 different views, like you can see, you saw earlier in the video. So I'm going to put a marker on these 3, and you can tell just by off these wavelengths where they are. If you can't really tell, then I mean, you can always just play the song, and I mean, you can hear it and just guess a little bit. Now with this, I want to basically get to where it pans out to the right. So right there, I want to be around, this is where it's kind of all your opinion, what you like, but I want it to be where I can see it for a little while. So I'm going to put a marker right there. That's where I want to be able to see the clip, because once we get to the marker, we're going to speed up the clip again where you're not standing still. So we're going to put a marker to the left of it just a bit, and then set this velocity to 0. And what that's going to do, I can just show you real quick. See, we paused it out there. So then the next change in audio is right here. What we're going to do is we're going to place a marker right here and right here. Honestly, it doesn't matter as long as they're close to each other. And now go to the one that's on the right, and you're going to pull up the velocity again. And what this is going to do is speed up the clip again. And the next time we want to be all the way facing the backside, so we may have to crank this up a bit. There. We'll set to 0. So now let's just see kind of what we're looking at. So we got 2 of them, and then we're going to just repeat this process for the next 2. Okay, now that you got that done, and we're going to see kind of what it looks like here. Cool, that looks good. And you might be wondering why you have a space here. What I think actually looks the best, so I'm going to drag this clip over a bit. So now, this is where you're just going to have to play with it a little bit and see what you like. But so we're going to do a scream pump later, and I want the scream pump to actually like be seen and be a vital part of this edit. So I'm actually going to pan back to where a little bit before I hit, so then the scream pump can really, I don't know, it's going to add a lot more, I think. So now that we have that, let's drag this over here. And you're going to want this side to be right before the shot. Right, so now let's see what we got. Awesome. That looks good. And a little effect that he does a lot of the times with the shotgun pulling over his shoulder. What he does is a lot of times he'll slow down the clip where he pulls over the shoulder, making it look a lot nicer. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to enter velocity again, and to repeat how I did that, I right-clicked, insert, and remove envelopes, and then velocity. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the normal speed here, go over to the right one, and set this at 74%. 74 seems to be, it won't make it choppy, and it'll slow it down some for you. And that should look good.
404, bitch.
Done it, I do what I did it, I does it.
Cool. And then now with that, most of this is complete. For syncing wise, obviously there's not going to be much syncing because this is the very first clip. However, you know, the second or third clip in your Taj, you're going to have a lot more syncing because you're going to have a lot more bass drops, whereas this is only syncing the cinematic to the different audio in the song.
What I did it, I does it, I pull.
And also another thing he does, like you've either seen before, he either speeds up the clip and then slows it down after the kill, or just slows it down right after the kill. And that's kind of what I'm going to do here, is we're going to insert some velocity, and I'm only going to do it right after he hits. So I'm going to put the velocity to normal, and then go a little to the right, and probably set it at 70. With this, you can just play around with it. But I mean, it honestly won't make that much of a difference. So now, I'm going to play it one more time.
404, bitch.
Done it, I do what I did it, I does it, I pull up, I do it again.
That looks good. Now let's start going into the effects. So one thing that kind of sets Flea apart from everyone, like this doesn't look like a Flea edit yet because you don't see any blur or anything to it, kind of like how you see in Flea's edit where it like his cinematics really stand out compared to everyone else. And to do that, what I've found is very helpful is I use this, I'm going to call it just G-Blur because I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but you're going to just drag that onto your cinematic. And with this, pull this over here. We do not want to mess with any vertical, so just go ahead and set that to 0. And then we're going to animate and time map this. So here we go. Let me make this smaller so it's a little easier for you all to see both screens. Okay. And so basically you want it blurred until a little before, probably a frame before the stop of the cinematic. So with that, let's set this to 0 because that's when you don't want it to be blurred at all. The start, I'm gonna mess with it a little bit. I'm not sure what I did, but I'm guessing it was probably around here. Probably close to 0.1 is probably a good blur amount. You can always, you know, this is where you can play with it, and they say like
404, bitch.
trial and error, honestly, with editing is a lot. So I think that looks good for now. So we're gonna do the same thing for the next 3 parts. Also, a quick note, you are going to want to, once you want to speed it up, you're going to have to key map it again. That way it doesn't speed up like steadily, it like all of a sudden speeds up, if that makes sense. Like you'll understand if you mess up once why we are key mapping it where we are. Okay, so now that we got that done, let's kind of look at what it's looking like now.
404, bitch.
Done it, I do what I did it, I does it, I pull.
And that makes it, that adds a lot to it, just that right there. I mean,
404, bitch.
Done
it
it, I
doesn't
do
just
what
look
I
like a
did it, I
plain
does it, I pull
cinematic.
up, I do it again. Yeah, Shawty won't suck.
Okay, so now after that, let's start messing with the clip effects. So one thing that is so vital to Fortnite Tages, I mean it was even huge with Call of Duty montages, is the screen pump on the hard bass hit. So to do that, you're just going to either just click this pan crop button right here, or right click and video event pan crop. And with that, you're going to want to make sure you place a marker right before you want the screen pump. So to do that, honestly what I always do is I just hit default again. It'll set a place marker right there. And then what you're going to want to do is just go one frame to the right. And then just pull it in a ways. Honestly here, you can mess around with it, how big you want the screen pump. It doesn't matter. It's honestly whatever you like. And then probably go out a ways and set it to default. And with that, you're just gonna have to play around how slow you want it to fade back in. I mean, I think that looks good for the tutorial. That looks fine.
404, bitch.
Another big thing that is used in Fortnite a lot is the shake. And with shake, you're gonna have to have Sapphire plugins, which I can put a link in the description where to get them. I use Sapphire plugins more than anything else, to be honest. And then, so with that, you're just going to literally go over the video FX. I have a preset already. Drag it on here. I can show you what my preset is. And here, I'll just open everything up, and you can just pause the video and see what my settings are. And then the only thing we're going to be messing with is the amplitude. So you're going to want to keyframe that. So with that being said, we only want the shake to happen as soon as like the bass drop and the shot hits. So you're going to want to make sure the amplitude is at 0 right before the shot hits, kind of like how we did with the screen pump. Go one frame over. And we are going to make it, you can play around with it. I think a big screen shake, I wouldn't do anything more than like 0.9. Smaller ones that you want throughout the video, you can put at like, I use a lot of like 0.3, but for like when the shot hits, I generally use 0.9. And then after that, you go out a little ways, so how far you want the shake to last, and then set it to 0. So then now we got this looking like this now. Also, my Sapphire plugins are kind of messed up and they make the clip look inverted. So I have to add, some of you all may have to add this if you are using Vegas. I think I'm using 17, yeah, I'm using 17. So if you're using Vegas 17 and your Sapphire plugins are actually making some of your clips look inverted, there's this thing called Fix for an Error that I've made. All it is S-Glow. You toss it on, and the only thing difference is I have brightness set at 0.0001. So that's what I have mine set at. So now we have this.
404, bitch.
Awesome. So that looks good so far. And one thing that I don't know, I haven't seen Flea actually use, but I kind of use it every now and then, is just as time warp RGB. So we're going to toss that on there. And with this, we are going to keyframe just the red frames, set blue to 0. I think it looks better just to shift the red frames. So with that, what you're going to do again is, honestly, the easiest way to do it is go to where you like moved your shake, once you applied your shake, and then set right before it to 0. So now you're going to have this effect, making it just look like you hit a lot harder, I guess you could say. And then let's finish the effect off by going ahead and setting it to 0. And I would just honestly, I would sync this all with the shake. And if you really wanted to be picky, you could sync it with the pan crop. So now,
404, bitch.
yeah. And what we're going to do from here, we're pretty close to being done. Let's add some black bars for the cinematic part. So with that, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Media Generator, scroll down to Solid Color, insert a video track. To insert a video track, you just right-click on a video track and click Insert Video Track. And then you might thinking, why are we using white? You'll understand in a little bit why we're using white. But just drag the white color down here over the clip. And then with that, you're going to left click on this and then compositing mode, and you want to hit multiply and mask. With that, now it looks like just, you know, your normal basic clip. Okay, and now to add the black bars, what you're going to do is right click, video pan crop, and you're going to do this on the white solid color and not the actual clip itself. And then you're going to find the spot where you want the black bars to be. So your cinematic's right there. I always do 1 or 2 frames before. So set it to default or normal, 1 or 2 frames before. That way you don't have the pan crop starting before you actually want it to start. And then I normally do it 2 frames into the cinematic itself, so it kind of gives it the feeling that it's actually pulling in almost like a movie screen. And then if you're using Vegas, you're going to have to turn off this lock aspect ratio. You're going to click that real quick and pull these in. And the easiest way I've found to do the second part, I would just copy this and paste it. And where you want that pasted is going to be just how we did the other one. You're going to want it 1 or 2 frames before the cinematic ends, and then 1 or 2 frames after. Obviously these are flipped, so let me just adjust that real quick. And let's just kind of see what this looks like.
For bitch.
Now that I do what I did it, I does it, I pull up, I do it again. Yeah, shawty.
Now with that, I mean, you can either be done with the clip or you can toss some stuff into After Effects, which what I'm going to do here in a sec. And kind of just, I think After Effects has a lot better like color correction, and like just makes your video a lot nicer, I guess you could say, look-wise. So what I'm going to do now is split the clip in the clip there. Just trim everything up and fade this. You don't have to fade it. This is just going to give it the looks like it's the first clip type of effect. And then fade the audio. And so if you don't want to actually toss everything into After Effects, that's totally fine. What you could do here, you can put your own, try and make your own color correction if you want. And exposure is what I'm going to talk about in After Effects. If you wanted to do that, you can always try and find go back to video effects and just do a glow through here. I know there's an S glow. I've never tried it through Sony Vegas, but I imagine it would look fine. But that's what we're going to do over in After Effects, is mess with. It's called exposure. Basically, it just adds lighting when the shots hit, and then we're going to add a color correction. But you can honestly do that probably through Vegas if you wanted. And if you end up not going to After Effects, I would add RSMB. To be honest, RSMB makes everything look a lot smoother. And I actually have my own preset if you want to use it. This is my preset if you want to just pause the video and copy it. And I'm just going to toss that over all 3 clips. Like I said before, my Sapphire plugins are kind of messed up, so I will have to add this S-Glow. You all don't have to do that step though. So now with RSMB, it may be a little laggy, but you can definitely tell the Real Smart Volition
For
burn.
bitch.
Now that I do what I did it, I does it, I pull up, I do it again.
So now let's just render this out, and I'll meet you all in After Effects. Welcome back, guys. So we're here in After Effects. I got my clip loading in, and that's all I've done so far. So I'm a lot slower in After Effects than I am with Vegas. I'm a lot newer to it. I've only used it for a couple edits. However, I just honestly use it for color correction and, like I said, exposure. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go up here and make a new adjustment layer for your color correction. So to do that, you just literally go up to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and let's just rename this to Color Correction. CC actually. And let's go over to your effects and type in Film. Drag this baby on here. And so it's going to apply its own color correction already. And I'm going to use the same color correction as, I believe it's Cootie Edits, is one of the guys who did kind of a tutorial on this. I actually really like the color correction he uses. We may change it up a little bit, but for the most part, the film part is going to be the same. So I'll actually leave a link in the description if you want to check him out. I highly suggest it. He's great at editing, and I take a lot of advice from what he does. So what we're going to do here is we're going to change this to Kodak 5207 Vision 3. And then for the print stock, we are going to change that to Fujifilm 3510. Color temperature can stay the same. We're going to change tint to 18%. Everything else can stay the same. Grain, we want a little bit of grain at 10%. And then strength, we are going to make it at 60. So already you can tell it looks a lot different than just a normal Fortnite edit. Or not edit, but just a normal Fortnite clip. So with this, what you're going to want to do is now go to, we're going to add some vibrance. Search vibrance and drag it over here. And we're going to set vibrance at 38 and saturation at 10. You can already tell, I mean, it just made it a lot brighter and really brought out the colors. So another effect we are going to add to this color correction is going to be glow. And so I'm actually going to use the Sapphire plugin for glow. I mean, there's several different kinds. If you're wanting to use the stock glow, I mean, it works perfectly fine. I believe one of the edits that I've already done, I just used a normal glow on. However, for this tutorial, I'm going to be using S-Glow. And with this, you're going to want to change the brightness to, let me see, 54? Now you want to change your threshold to 0.54. Your brightness to 2.04. And then the color, so I mean, you can honestly do whatever preference you want. Flea does a lot of purple. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to purple, get a bright purple, slap that on there. And now we're done with your glow. I mean, you can already tell. You can definitely see a lot of pink and pinkish purple throughout like the actual video. So now let's add this one effect. Cootie also, he did this. He added some flicker. Flicker is very nice. It does a light flicker. A lot of people will do it to the beat, but we're just going to do it throughout the whole video. And then after we get flicker plugged in, the only thing you want to change is the amplitude to 0.05. After that, we're going to add some curves. And with curves, you're going to drag it to the top. You're going to put a dot right here, a dot right here. Pull this one out a bit. pull this out a bit. And you can already tell like this color correction is coming along very, very well. And the last thing we're going to add to this color correction is going to be to sharpen it. You're just going to drag that to the bottom. And we're going to sharpen it at 20. And now we are done with our color correction. Lagging a bit just so it's rendering, but you can tell it looks a lot different already. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add another adjustment layer, and actually just click on your your clip, the raw clip itself, layer, new, adjustment layer. And we're going to just rename this one exposure. And with that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to effects and type in exposure. And here we go. Drag it and put it on the clip. And this is where you're going to kind of do the remapping or keyframing that you did through Vegas. It's a little different in this, however, it's pretty close to the same. So what you want to change a little bit is going to be the exposure amount. So we're going to just hit the clock on that and hit U on your keyboard, and it'll bring up the map for you. And where we want everything, or where you want this is basically just adding brightness for when the clip hits. Or you're going to want to do it as soon as like, see, you can tell where like the bass pump is and everything. So honestly, I would do it right where your bass pump is. And what we're going to do is, for this video, I thought 2.87 looked very good. So just do that, go back one frame, and set it to 0. That way it's not bright throughout the whole video. And then you obviously don't want it to be bright for the rest of the video. So just come down here a ways, whatever you feel would look good, and set your exposure back to 0. That way for the next clip, if you end up doing another clip, you don't have brightness throughout your whole video. And with that, I mean, honestly, I would render this out, and to do that, you're just going to go to composition, add to render queue, and then render it out. Okay, and now here's the clip after it's been rendered.
404, bitch.
Done it, I do what I did it, I does it, I pull up, I do it again.
For only being 20-30 minutes probably, I think it looks very, very well. And for the next video, we'll just work on another effect that like Flea does. Maybe a little different style cinematic, but a Flea style cinematic. And basically, I think what we'll do is we'll start a series and we'll just basically create a montage, one clip at a time. And for this purpose, I will actually link the clips that I used for this. I'll put a file, that way you can download it and you want to follow along. Or you can use your own clips, it doesn't matter. But if it ever helps, just to literally follow step by step on how someone's doing it, I can leave the clips in the description, that way you can download them and then just follow along. But that's going to be it for the day. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.